Salutations, Geek Nation, and welcome back to Geek Culture Combat. And in this video, just talk a little bit about the possibility of Robert Downey Jr. reprising his role as Iron Man. Now, Marvel executive thoughts about possibly resurrecting RDJ's Tony Stark. Now, but not most people know that Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark met his end in Avengers Endgame, and what an end it was. Now, after kickstarting the entire MCU with Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. got the send-off he deserves. With that said, some have wondered if he might make a return, and now Marvel Studios' Big Wiz has given some thoughts on possibly resurrecting him. Now, no fan likes to see their favorite character die, and when they do, we often, or too often, wish the writers could come up with a clever way to bring them back somehow. So in this case, it would mean bringing back Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. Unfortunately, Marvel Studios' Victoria Alonso recently told Clarion that it's unlikely at this point. Now, this obviously was said back in November. And she has a quote. Her quote says, "Tony Stark is dead, and that's our story. Resurrection, I do not know. I do not know how we would do it. It seems to me that the story of Tony Stark is told by us. Hence, he has left his inheritance, who he is, for example, in Spider-Man, because Peter Parker has been a false son. So you see a lot of what Tony Stark would have been in Peter Parker. And it seems to me that you see that constantly in how one person influences the other. But no, at the moment, we don't have any plans." Now, unfortunately, that doesn't sit well with a lot of people, but there are some mixed reviews. There are some fans out there who appreciate the sacrifice that Tony Stark made. They like that ending. He had a really, really, really good send-off. And then there's some of us who just don't want to let go. They just hate to see Tony go. And of course, there's a lot of fan theories out there suggesting that he'll just be resurrected somehow. Others suggest that he would simply be AI, and the idea of Riri Williams coming to the fold to the MCU. And if that's to happen, they say that Tony Stark as an AI character would be a welcome addition and a much needed addition when it comes to Riri Williams getting her feet wet, and also Rhodes when he makes his appearances, and kind of help usher in the next generation of Avengers. Now, if he's AI, then you have to see, well, how long is this contract going to be? Because why get rid of him if he can be like a Jarvis type AI? And then at the same time, with such a phenomenal actor as Robert Downey Jr., why would you want to reduce him to simply a voice actor? So there's a lot of questions out there, and we don't know a lot of answers at this point. So we have a lot of hope out there of what we could do. Now, you can always get someone if Robert Downey Jr.'s price tag gets a little bit too high, which I don't see how, since this is one of the most successful franchises in history. If over time his price tag gets a little too high, you can always get another voice that sounds like him later on. And I think that would be just fine. But this is it's a sticky situation. I have to say it's kind of a sticky situation, because you don't want to minimize Tony Stark's sacrifice. And at the same time, we do have characters who got dusted, who got Thanos snapped, and they are back. In fact, you have, Loki, he's back. Black Widow, he's back. Although it could be something right before Endgame, of course, the time period. Hawkeye, he's back. There's a lot of characters that are back. Vision, he's back. And so death isn't always death, but it just seems like the two that are gone seems like it'd be Tony Stark and maybe Captain America, although I know he's an old man now, but he could be gone. He won't be back in action. That is. So what do you guys think? Should the MCU bring back Robert Downey Jr., aka Tony Stark's character, to kind of help usher in the new wave, phase 5 in this whole MCU Marvel universe? And now, of course, there are also reports that says that Robert Downey Jr., he likes the way Iron Man was sent off, and he would not come back unless he was simply AI. He doesn't want to undo what they did. They did a phenomenal job in setting up the story. He started this whole thing way back when in Iron Man 1, and then he also finished it, and they made Tony Stark the greatest superhero in movie history, character wise. The greatest. He only saved the universe 2-3 times already. So saved the planet. He saved the planet from Ultron, saved the planet from Loki, and then saved the universe from Thanos. So saved the Earth twice, and then saved the universe and restored it back again. So yeah, only the greatest superhero of all time, at least as movies go. But hey, give me your thoughts. Put them in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you have to say. And we'll see you guys on the next video, Geek Culture Combat.